Hello, everyone. I welcome you all to Be and Beyond, a talk show by IC Visit, which takes you through the journey of alpha geeks from all around the world, wherein they share with us their experiences and expertise in top tier fields of technology and science. Hello, everyone. My name is Sahil Shivali, Senior Public Relations Officer at IC Visit, your host for this episode. Entrepreneurs don't have dream jobs. You have a dream or a job. Go for the dream. These are the wise words of a prominent alumnus of Visit. And today we feel extremely honored to have himself with us, Mr. Dhairya Pujara, the founder and CEO of Y Center, a global experiential learning, innovation consulting, and a design firm. Having been invited as a speaker for various programs, Mr. Dhairya has also been the curator of Global Shaper, a global TEDx organizer. He is also a blogger at HubSpot and is public speaker. Mr. Dhairya is a West alumnus who completed his master's in Drexel University in America and is now helping students make smarter career choices. Hello, sir.
Hi, Sahil. Thank you so much for that introduction. It's a pleasure to be here.
Okay, so let's start with the interview. Let's head on right into it.
Absolutely.
Sir, we are the students of VESET, and you passed out VESET in 2010. So, as we are the current students of VESET, we would really like to know about college memories and what was your college role in shaping your career.
Yep. Sahil, thanks for that question. So, it's very difficult to pinpoint at a single memory or a single experience because college, luckily I did finish in 4 years. So I have 4 years worth of experiences, and I don't know which one specifically stands out. But if I really have to pick a couple of them for the sake of this interview, I would say the experience of my most amazing experience was to work with student clubs and student organizations as an admin, as an admin officer, organizing activities, because that taught me so much about everything from finance to budgeting to PR to communication skills to leadership to team management to conflict management to, how difficult it is to manage your like assignments and your study load and your personal life, which obviously is the most important, and do these events on the side. And it's a volunteering thing. So I think one of the most singularly amazing experience, if I have to really pick one, was being involved in all the activity organizing work that I did as a student. That is definitely one. And then the second experience I think of Vesit would be, which is also in to answer your second question about the memories piece, is the relationships that you build in the university, like the friendships and the kind of. I have a whole story about that, but it's very special. I the Vesit 4 year relationship building that I had with people, with friends. They were, I almost feel, for life, you know, and they are for life. And we all right now, now we all went different routes. And I think to answer that question about memories, it was so special that after we left Vesit, all of us obviously are in different countries now. If someone did an MBA, someone started a company, someone is, I think so. Let me think. Yeah, we have a YouTube influencer from I think 1 or 2 years senior batch. You all know him, of course. He's very famous stand-up comedian. So from Vesit, yeah. So just that aspect of Vesit and seeing what everyone is doing now around the world, and then sometimes getting a chance to connect back and have conversations like this. This is, of course, you all are still in the Vesit, but that memory, I think, keeps shaping who I am as a person. Right? It's we always think about college as the time we spend those 4 years, when we are there to study engineering, but the Vesit experience, especially for me, I think it's still going on. It's not finished.
Oh.
I really mean that, because see, every time I come to India, I also get a chance to go back to campus. I think I was last on campus in 2018. I'm just trying to recollect if I don't want to be wrong. I think I was there in 2018, and I wanted to see the new building, the new campus, because when I was graduating in 2010, we were in old. I think from 2011 they moved to the new campus. So 2010 we were in old campus. So I came twice at least. I also did like a not a workshop, a talk. I think maybe once or twice on Visit campus after I graduated. So I kept in touch with Visit faculty and the Visit relationships I built. And of course, now because of social media, you are always connected to people. You never leave.
Yes,
So
yes.
I'm still connected to some of the Visit faculty members on Facebook, I guess. You guys obviously must be thinking Facebook is too old, but yes, I'm not
No,
that
no,
young
no, no, not
either.
at all.
But it is, come on. But yeah, we are connected over there. So I think that experience of relationship building and that opportunity to work in hands-on events, like I think that was invaluable for my experience at Visit.
That was very lovely, especially when you said that your visit experience is still going on. That was really heart touching. Okay, coming on to the next question. You completed your master's in biomedical from Drexel University, right? So, speaking of biomedical, it's not a very orthodox or an everyday field which we see. What is the current scope of this, especially after completing masters from the United States?
So the scope of a field, of any field. I'll talk about biomedical, specifically your question, Sahil. But let me just address that question at large first. What is the scope of any field after studying in United States or studying anywhere for that matter? And I feel the scope is what you want it to be. Honestly, I've never given a damn about how markets operate or, you know, is the scope good enough? I never have made in my life choices about scope kya hai iska. I have always pursued something that I want to study or I want to work because I like to do it. Now that sounds maybe very theoretically good sounding and everything, but that is absolutely true in my case. For example, instrumentation, the default choice for a lot of people, especially if you've never had an engineer in your family will all tell you, अच्छा computer science क्यों नहीं किया, EXTC क्यों नहीं किया, electronics क्यों नहीं किया, ये क्या है, instrumentation क्या है, and they will not even know how to say it. People will say, अच्छा instrument engineering कर रहा है, instrumental कर रहा है. You
Yes.
guys know how that works. So when I picked instrumentation engineering, actually I had always wanted to study that because, and that was by choice. I was one of the few people in my class who chose instrumentation, not because मेरे को और कुछ मिला नहीं, which is also okay. But मेरे को वो ही चाहिए था. I wanted to study instrumentation because I always wanted to do my masters in either maybe aeronautics or biomedical, one of those fields. And I felt that instrumentation would set me up really good foundation to go and do what I wanted to do. So when I picked biomedical, it was a natural extension of my undergrad at Wesit doing instrumentation. And
Yes.
I obviously was very intrigued about the large scale complexity of space, and I wanted to be an astronaut going up. I think many of you here, if I ask how
Yes,
many
yes.
people wanted to
Plus
be an
one.
astronaut, a lot of people. Okay, plus one, and I'm sure many pluses here. I'm still one of them. I'm not going to say I've given up on that dream. But two things have always inspired me the most: the vastness of space science and the complexity and the unknown. But the same unknown also lies within human body. We still don't know how human brain operates. We don't know so much about human beings in general. We are just starting a conversation on mental health around the world, trying to understand
Yeah,
why
exactly.
someone feels depressed, why someone feels sad, what happens when we say we are in love, like what exactly goes on. It's more than just liking someone's Instagram post, for all of those who hear. So what exactly is going on inside human body? And that's what like always excited me, and that's why I chose to study biomedical engineering. And I never cared about the scope. So that is how I decided to study. Now let me answer your question specifically and head on. Biomedical obviously has a huge scope now worldwide. You may have seen in last 2 years itself, the pandemic kind of reinstated the need for more medical technology based work. Vaccines, like of course, pharma people who've studied pharmaceuticals are the ones who lead this. Biotechnologists, all kinds of people in computer science studying AI. Everyone's needed to do research around the COVID-19 pandemic and how the virus operates and how we can mitigate it. But also biomedical engineers have played a huge role in figuring out how can we effectively deliver the vaccine dosage, what is the right dosage, and create those testing models, simulating models on computers. What is the effect of the vaccine on the cells? What is the effect for someone who has comorbidity, has diabetes? So if you want to specialize, you can specialize in those fields. uh, but I was listening to a podcast by Walter Isaacson. If you guys haven't heard who he is, he's the one who wrote Steve Jobs' book. So everyone
Oh,
knows that
yeah,
book.
yeah,
So
yeah.
he's the author of that book. Walter Isaacson has also written biography on Albert Einstein and Leonardo da Vinci, and he said a very interesting thing about vaccines and in general about science. And I strongly resonate. I think we have to be inherently curious. That's number one, and we should not look to specialize very soon. So when I say there's a huge scope in biomedical, I'm not saying you have to further specialize into vaccine development or research. Nobody knows what they want to do right now, especially when you're an undergrad. So my basic objective to share here is that pick a larger field that you are interested in, that you're curious about: computer, biomedical, instrumentation, robotics, mechanical. God save you if it is mechanical, but it can be. And then maybe over the years get some experience or study further, and eventually give yourself the opportunity to find out what you really like, because it can take many years, until you figure out what you really like. So scope is very, and this question is kind of a trap, because if I tell you, yeah, there is a lot of scope, and everyone, if you are in fourth year, you guys are going to be coming to US next year, which is 2022. You'll graduate in 2024, and I don't know what's going to happen in 2024, because I
Exactly.
didn't know in 2019 that 2020 the world is going to shut down. So there's no
Yeah.
point in me making any claim scope hai ki nahi hai. The world is so dynamic. We cannot make our decisions based on what the scope is right now and what it will be 2 years from now, because the resolution of the world changing has really shrunk to like a year or 2 years now. Initially, it was like 10-year plan, 5-year plan, and then now I think maybe it's 1 or 2 year. Every 1 or 2 year, technology is changing, the scope of things are changing depending on how important, what issues are important to mankind. Climate change. Who knew that environmental engineering would be so important in 2021? Like right now, if anyone here
Yes. Yes.
is remotely interested in environmental engineering or studying climate science or anything, you guys are going to mint like millions of dollars. That's about money, but you are going to save millions of lives, because that is also the whole aspect of climate science, that just the kind of situation we are in as human beings. But yeah, I hope that answers.
Yeah. Yeah. That does. Whoosh, that was a lot of information. A lot of rightful information that I've received in a quite a long time. Moving on to the third question. A very important question. So, what drive you into becoming a social entrepreneur?
So, as per my pattern of answering the questions in a weird way, I'm going to continue to tell you I'm not a social entrepreneur. That's what people tell about me, and I adopted that
Okay.
term. I think there is no difference between a social entrepreneur and an entrepreneur. It's a very academic research based term that was given to people who make businesses that also have a real impact on the world. I'm glad my business creates solutions that help people around the world. But I think entrepreneurship in general, we have to define what is an entrepreneur, and it is someone who solves problems for the world and makes money, creates a business model around that. Basically, that I solve problem for a customer or for someone, and I get paid for it. Simple. Now, social entrepreneur, by definition, that you just may have referred to, is someone who does all of this but keeps at the center of the mission to solve problems and drive humanity in a positive direction. But the definition is now a little extended. You don't just have to focus on humanity, but focus on the world at large. Things that are not human beings, but including our trees, animals, ocean, our climate around us, uh, the cars we drive, thinking about every single thing, the plastic packaging that we use. So thinking about every single element, it's a very holistic approach now to solve problems. And I think the definition in my head of now a social entrepreneur, if I really have to put one, is someone who advances the mission of the world at large. Someone who solves multiple problems with a single business model or a variety of business models. So what drives me, Sahil, is that I, right from childhood, I guess, I cannot stand the sight of seeing problems. I see a problem and I hate looking at it. I mean, I hate it so much, I want to do something about it. To quote it in our Mumbai words, like मुझे बहुत कीड़ा चढ़ता है जब कुछ दिखता है, कुछ problem हो रहा है, I have to get in and fix the damn thing. And that is, I think, a very short answer of why I choose to become a social entrepreneur or an entrepreneur in general. I am in love with problems and problem solving. I love those two things. So that's why I am who I am now.
Wow. Yeah, that was beautiful. Okay, so you are the founder and the CEO of Y Center. Like, can you share with us the story about the formation of Y Center? Like, how did you come up with that?
Sure. Uh, so I've shared this story multiple times actually, and I've also got a chance to be on Visit campus a few times to talk about my journey of starting Y Center. But here is a shorter version. But the story is not that straightforward, but I'll try to put it in simpler terms. So I got my master's degree. I quit my job first day. So I have a corporate experience of 5 hours, actually 8 hours. I quit at 5 o'clock. That's why. But I want to mention to everyone in this call and anyone who's watching this on YouTube or wherever, I'm not giving an advice to quit your job on first day. That is stupid. Don't be stupid like me. I was very stupid and maybe I don't know. Uh, you can call, there's a thin line. My mentor and my professor used to tell me there's a thin line between being brave and being stupid. So be careful where you're walking, And I was on the line of between being brave and stupid. But anyway, so I quit my job first day, and I always had a passion, and I have continued to have a passion. Maybe you can even term it almost like an obsession to some degree, that I want to solve problems. I am interested in solving really tough problems. Even if I can't, even if I fail doing that, that's okay. I want to give it a shot. So after quitting my job, I got a chance to go to Mozambique in Africa and live there for a few months as part of my university's program. So I was leading that program as an associate director. And I realized I have no right to be an associate director of an international program where I have no experience of working in Africa. I've never even been to. I hadn't even heard about the country Mozambique. I doubt most of you know where that is. But it's in southern part of
Southern
African
Africa.
continent,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
next to South Africa. Yeah, it's on north of
Mhm.
South Africa, if I may. So northeast to be specific. So I ended up in that country, and no one speaks English there. Here I am, in a non-English speaking country, trying to live in a village. And I've shared this, especially when I'm giving talks in India, that I thought of myself as this, Shah Rukh Khan from Swades. I'm quitting. Actually, he's not very popular to name these days, but I'll throw the name anyway. That hey, I just quit my job in US. I'm going to go to a village in Africa, and I'm going to give water, and I'm going to give internet. Actually, not water. They had water, but electricity. But I'm going to give internet to this village. And I found out they don't need internet. They have other problems. So I was not really any hero or anything. I was just a stupid, like, young guy who decided he's going to quit his job and go to a small village in Africa where no one speaks his language, and realize in that process that despite having 4 years of bachelor's engineering experience and 2 years of master's program experience in US, I didn't feel I was quite ready to actually be an engineer. You guys all here on this call have learned how a DC motor works, what is brushless motor, how does a clipper clamper circuit works, and you want to, either some of you here wants to get a 40 and pass, or wants to know enough to clear the viva, or work on your projects, whatever. But how many of you here feel so ready that if I see a DC motor or a generator in front of me, I can fix it? I didn't feel I was ready, when I graduated. So I saw huge gaps that, a lot of people like me who go through college education, which is important, and, it gives you a good foundation, but they are not quite ready to solve real world problems. And we are surrounded by problems. Just, I mean, look around us. Everyone here, all of you, I challenge you guys, go tomorrow out. I mean, wear a mask and whatever, but go out and take a notebook. I mean, take a phone. I'm sorry, I'm speaking to you guys. Take your phone and see how many problems you can see around yourself objectively. You guys go around out every day, but like, look for it, and you will see there are problems all around. Everything from economic problems to social problems to even cultural problems, and we are surrounded by problems, and we are not ready to solve most of them. Either we think, okay, ek insan kya kar lega, standard narrative, one person
Exactly,
cannot change the
exactly.
world, or you think, oh, no, I have duties, I have to first get a job, I have to get money, ye sab baad mein karenge yaar, pehle mujhe loan chukana hai. I come from a middle class family. So if anyone here is wondering, अरे ये बहुत rich lega, इसने job छोड़ दिया है, इसके dad के पास बहुत पैसा, कुछ नहीं. uh, I come from a humble background from Mulund in Bombay in India. You guys know where that is. I, collectively, I realized when I was in that village in Africa that I wanted to build a company that creates, builds solutions to solve problems that we see around us, everything from healthcare to education. But I also wanted to teach people, and I wanted everyone, people like me, like all of you, to actually use your education, whatever you have studied, doesn't matter. Arts kiya to bhi chalta hai, commerce kiya, doesn't matter. But whatever you studied, can you put that into practice? I think praxis ka apna wo tha na tagline, from theory to practice tha kya?
हाँ 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 हाँ,
Right.
हम लोग के टाइम
अपना
पे भी था.
exactly. So praxis. So I think that praxis is extremely important, and that's what inspired me to start Y Center. So the compressing the long version is that my journey of founding Y Center comes from the seed of the fact that I want people to have experiential. The word, Sahil, you were struggling when you were introducing Y Center. I wanted to build an experiential learning program for people to bridge that gap between whatever they've studied in their classes or their lives or wherever, and be able to use that to create hands-on solutions with the people around the world and solve some of these global problems. So that is how I ended up like making Y Center and founding Y Center. Of course, there's a lot of other Rona Dona and small details about paisa kaun dega, job
हाँ,
chhod diya,
exactly.
ab kya
Very
hoga,
important.
people asking you ye kya kar raha hai, pagal ho gaya hai, blah blah blah. That I'm going to skip right now for the sake of the time we have here. But besides all the typical thing that you guys can assume everyone goes through, this is really how and why I founded Y Center.
Yeah, exactly. I really feel that एक एक आदमी क्या करेगा चेंज वाला part is really important, and the capital is also important. There's a very famous saying which goes on in India, like that says एक के करने से क्या होगा, but एक एक के करने से बहुत कुछ होगा. और इन दोनों सेंटेंस में बस एक का फर्क है. Like I've also heard it from someone. And it is a really beautiful sentence. That's why I recorded it. That was yeah, that was really good. Whatever you said, and also about if you're on the path of talking about Mozambique, I've heard stories about TEDx in Mozambique as well. Like there was some problems, and then you countered it, and that was a really fascinating story. I would really like to hear it from you.
So Sahil, about your TEDx story, my TEDx story and your question.
Yes.
I, as many of you may have already are familiar with what is TED and what is TEDx. I actually got introduced to TED.com back in 2009. So I was a student in Wesset, and I started my first company with my two best friends called Bookwheels.com when I was in Wesset.
Yes. Yes. Yes.
And my biggest competitor back then was Flipkart. So just think about it.
Oh.
Anyway, so we started this company, and I remember I met a guy. It's a very interesting story, and he introduced me to TED. He said there is this American company, and they have these videos on internet, and they're amazing. You know, like you can learn so much from them. And I'm like, okay, I saw one or two, and he came to me because he said, you guys are selling books on your platform. I'm also encouraging you guys to burn these talks on a CD. If you guys are too young to know what is a CD,
No, no, no. I
it
completely
is
know.
okay. It's a disk you put inside your computer. Anyway,
Yeah.
so we were discussing, can we burn these talks on a CD, and people can buy books, but now they can also buy CDs because the internet was not very fast back in
Yes. Yes.
2009. I mean, it was good, but not everyone had good internet. Some people didn't even have internet. Maybe some of them were
Yeah.
still using like
Exactly.
phone-based broadband connections. So that's when I got introduced to TED. And then I used to keep watching TEDx talks. I loved it. And when I was in US in 2012, I organized the first ever TEDx conference in my university in Philadelphia, and I got a chance to meet like some really important people, famous people, if I may, during that event. And then when I quit my job and I went to Mozambique, to Africa, I showed them some TED talks to inspire people. You guys have seen TED talks and you're like, yeah, ये क्या बाप
Yes.
काम
Yes.
कर
Yes.
रहे हैं,
Yes.
और ये
Completely.
MIT में research हो रहा है, और ये
हाँ हाँ
blah blah.
एकदम.
So I was also very inspired, and I showed some talks to people in Mozambique, and they loved it. But one person asked me a very important question, and they said, "Why are all these talks given by people in US and these other countries? Don't we have any famous Mozambican or other African origin people who have given like big talks?" And there were some, but not many. No one from Mozambique. So I'm like, hey, you know what? let's do our own TEDx conference. There's nothing, I'm of a big believer that you can invent the future you want rather than predicting it. So I'm like, let's make our own future. And we decided we'll do our own TEDx talk. And so I was in touch with the TED team in New York, the headquarter office. I think they now moved to maybe Vancouver or Canada somewhere. I don't know. But there used to be a TED office in New York City. And I know this because they had invited me to possibly work at TED in 2012. So I visited their offices and they interviewed me and all. So I knew someone at the TED office. So from Mozambique, I sent an email saying I want to do a TEDx event in Africa in the small village in Mozambique, but I have no money, I have no resources. So then they sent me a huge courier box from FedEx from New York to Mozambique. It took like almost a month, 30 days. And they give me a microphone, a DVD player to play TED Talk CDs with Portuguese subtitles because they speak Portuguese in Mozambique. They sent me an inverter because we didn't even have power sometimes in that village. I was living in a village where electricity would just go off. So I got all that box shipped to me in Mozambique, but because of corruption and local issues, our box was kind of stolen from us and we didn't get it. So I was very upset. I'm like, hey, now we can't do the dream I promised to all of you, to do the first ever TEDx conference in Mozambique. So eventually I told the community and we all came together and we used coconut and banana leaves to make TED letters that you see on the stage, that the red colors. We used all the local resources. I went to a local guy who shoots birthday parties and wedding parties. And I said, can you shoot TED Talks like on your camera and give me a microphone? And there was a local restaurant. We got like Parle-G, like biscuits from there, that we have in India. So those kind of cookies. And I had a friend, German, who was a nurse, and we had a microwave oven and we had some electricity for a few hours. So she said, I'm going to bake banana bread for all 100 people. So we literally catered our own food because we had no budget. And one thing we had for free was coconut water. So we literally partnered up with a local guy. He went up the tree, got like few coconuts. So everyone, it's a hot day. It was a hot day in Mozambique. And we did the catering of the food. We got the video, we got projector screen, we got chairs from the hospital, and we did put together the first ever TEDx conference in the country of Mozambique. And when I reached out to TED office and I said, hey guys, I have a bad news and a good news. The bad news is your box is stolen. I never got it. But the good news is we did it anyway. We didn't need your box after all. And they loved the story so much. They interviewed me and my team member, Miguel, and they published it on a blog on TED's official website as one of the most innovative TEDx events in the world in 2013. So that is the story of how we did it.
Not even kidding. I got actual goosebumps. This felt like I don't remember his name, the guy from Three Idiots, the Funso Pangdu. Rancho.
Yeah.
Rancho type of work. Like I was like, shit, you got
But
banana leaves.
I'll be honest, awesome. I was not the Feng Shui Wangdu over there or the Rancho. I think I had the support of these amazing people, and they are so creative. They are the ones who were able to think creatively and use coconut, banana, and everything. And I was just, I think, like a conductor in an orchestra, making sure everyone is playing properly. But I don't want to take up all the credit. It was the credit of the community where I was working, and they did an amazing job.
Okay, so you were in the second Funsu Pangdu. You were the first Dhairya Pujara.
There is no second. People never have a second. I think things like this, Sahil, it's never about one person. It's about always more than one person. It takes a lot of people. Even I would say, Feng Shui Wangdu became whoever he was, even in the movie. If you really think about it, he needed relationships, So even when he was in college, he had friends,
exactly.
You kind of need a support system. You always need someone, and even when he left college and goes and you find out he's in this Leh Ladakh, wherever he started his school, he has the guy from the college, Millimeter, to help him out.
Yeah.
There now. So
became Centimeter.
I mean, we don't think about him. We're like, yeah, but it's important to note the fact that people always work with someone. It's always a collaboration. Even Steve Jobs worked with, I forgot his name. I mean, I'm getting old, but whatever. Everyone always at every point, like Steve Wozniak, I guess. Yeah, they always had partners, right? People work with other people. Sometimes they appear like, we think about Elon Musk. Okay, amazing entrepreneur, super inspiring, for role model for many people in terms of how he thinks, his vision. But even he has a team. He has people he relies on. He works with set of advisors, mentors, colleagues, and I want to point that out to everyone here that even if someone in this group believes, yeah, I'm too smart and I can figure out things myself, yes, you can, but you will need a good support system at some point. So start looking for it.
Yeah, so knowingly or unknowingly, people do influence our lives.
Always, always.
Yeah, okay. About that, this is a very important question that I thought. What challenges does one face, or what challenges did you face, to be precise, while setting up an organization like Y Center in a foreign land like USA, being an Indian? Like we've heard tons of stories about, like I don't want to go into racism and stuff, but always there are things like they prefer the local residentials over any foreign residentials for any sort of thing. Like I've heard about these stories. So, what were the actual things that happened over there?
So, Sahil, your question is very loaded. For for starters, racism is actually a global problem. You know, I
Yeah,
also want to talk about that maybe because you mentioned that it's not an American problem; it's a global humanitarian problem, and I have also seen that problem in India. It's not limited to
yeah,
US.
yeah,
It's a problem in
completely.
India as well. It's just the fact that in India we don't have as many global immigrants we have casteism problem in India, obviously,
Yeah,
but
very
we also
much.
have racism. If we do have people from other parts of the world who come to India, they do face issues in India. So I feel that obviously US doesn't present any special challenge to me. It was just like in terms of that issue that you bring up. Also, racism has affected more to one side of the community more than, for me, and I'm from India and Southeast Asia, and it has affected more from people who are originally from African continents, or American Africans,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
um, or Asians from China or from other countries in that region. It has affected more than it has affected Indians. It affects everyone. It affects whites. It affects people of all color. So it's not one person's issue. It's a global issue, and it's more complicated than to be discussed on this call. But my challenges were obviously a little more doing it in a different country. The first one is not having a support system, not having family, obviously, here. I don't know anyone here like before I came here. Of course, like had some relatives, but very far. They cannot help me even if they wanted to. Um, it's expensive. Let me add that to live in in country like US. I didn't have health insurance. That's almost like a crime in US not to have health insurance. In fact, you get penalized if you don't buy health insurance when you file your tax returns. So I didn't have health insurance for many years because I couldn't afford it. And I remember if I'm sick, I cannot go to a doctor because I have no money to. I don't even have $10 to pay to a doctor. So I went through my own challenges. I'm not saying it's unique to me, everyone goes through it. So I think the challenges that came with setting up an organization in a different country than your home country is always not knowing people, so you don't have a support system. You have to navigate legal challenges. So I had to obviously figure out, how do I figure out my immigration process, because some of you are maybe familiar. If you're looking to study abroad, especially in US, you need a special visa called F1 visa to come here.
Yeah, yeah,
If you
yeah.
come on a student, it's a student visa. But after you graduate, which I did, your student visa expires and then you get on an H1 visa, which is a visa that your company sponsors. But it is a company that is not your company. In my case, I am my company. How can I sponsor myself? That is weird. I can't sponsor legally. So I had to figure out my immigration challenge as well. That was, I think, the most complicated piece, I would say, my immigration challenge of figuring out my visa in America to be able to continue to live here and to work here, to raise money, to sell legally, and all of that. So that was the biggest challenge to start a business in America. But besides that, I think there are typical challenge of starting any business in any part of the world, and I faced all of them, and I continue to face. Everyone, business is not a one day thing. You keep getting challenged every month, every week, every
Yeah,
year.
but
So it's still ongoing. But I think my top challenge would be immigration and lack of support system, I would say.
yeah, but things do get better, right? With time, if you work on it, of course.
Depends.
Yeah, if you
Exactly,
work, yeah,
Sahil,
that's
right?
why I added if you work on it.
If you want to work on it, if you sit on your ass on the couch, things don't get better, they get worse.
Yeah,
You have to work
exactly.
for it. I would like to change that sentence to say things turn out the way you want them to be turning out.
Yeah,
It
exactly.
if you want them to turn out to be good, you will work for it. And as um, as famous philosophers say, which was dubbed into a Hindi movie, if you really want something, the universe will conspire to get it to you. right? And it's true. So things, if you want things to be better, things will be better. If you want something to be really bad, it will happen bad. And then people are like, मेरे साथ क्यों होता है? Because तुमने सोचा कि खराब हो सकता है, तो हुआ खराब. So don't be surprised now. So I think that's my philosophy, at least, that you cannot control everything. If you want something to be better, it will be immediately better, but you can work towards it and things will get better eventually if you work for it. Simple.
Yeah, exactly. And talking about visas, we've heard that you have an O1A visa as well. Like, can you please describe what it exactly is? Like, I don't have much knowledge about it, but I've heard that it's a really
Yeah,
big deal.
maybe, I don't know, but I'm happy I have it. Um, but yeah, when I found out that I'm working on my startup, I cannot get an H1 visa because it can be only given by your employer. And in my case, I'm
Yeah,
starting my
exactly.
own company. So there are two options: get a green card, you marry an American, or do
Mhm.
something of that sort. वो मेरे लिए option नहीं था. मेरी girlfriend मेरे को मार देती, which is now my wife. Or second option is this: I found out about a visa called O1 visa. It is informally dubbed as Genius visa. So people like someone like A.R. Rahman can get it because he got an Oscar, for his music. So if you win an Oscar, you win a Nobel Prize, or you have internationally won an award, like you were selected for Olympics and you got a medal in Olympics. I don't even think you need to win a medal. Even if you represented your country in Olympics, that's a big deal. You are considered extraordinary in your field, and you can apply for O1 visa and you can come to America. I thought I what I'm doing is interesting. I was not sure, obviously, because I'm no that kind of I'm not that extraordinary that any of that like that. Those people who represent our country at Olympics level and who create Oscar-winning music. But I thought, what if I do something interesting where I can prove that my work is very important and no one in the world is doing interesting work like I am. If I can prove that, I can get that visa. So yeah, eventually I was able to prove in 2015 to the US government, to the immigration, that I'm unique, my work is unique, and if I get the visa, I can change lot many lives in the world. So I got that visa in 2015, and since then it's been 6 years. I've got renewed it three times. So I've proven three times in last 6 years that hey, I am an individual of extraordinary ability, and give me the visa to live in US. So yeah, I'm on that O1A visa, which is reserved for individuals of extraordinary ability. uh, but let me tell everyone here that I don't have any special talents. I know most of my friends who are more talented than I am. They are sometimes more hardworking than I am. I I think I'm just very passionate about what I do, and I'm very obsessed. I have an obsessive behavior for my work, I guess, to make an impact, and that helped me to do some really interesting and important work. And I was lucky to be supported and blessed by many people, so that all helped me.
Yeah, but that is a really big deal. And that, as you said, it comes from doing some extraordinary work. Like, and talking about some extraordinary work, would you like to share some projects undertaken by Y Center?
Yeah, sure. So my first project was very special. I created a SMS-based app with a few students on fighting malaria in Africa. It was like Uber for malaria testing. So you can just
Yes,
send,
yes.
but no internet. So you can just send a message, and you can get someone come to your doorstep and give you a malaria test. So this was inspired from Uber and from Domino's. Like, I can get a pizza in 30 minutes, but I cannot get a malaria test. Like, how ridiculous is that? What world are we
Yeah,
living in?
exactly,
So I'm like,
exactly.
let's fix this. And a good news came out last week, the first week of October. So whenever who is watching this interview, but first week of October 2021, the world's first vaccine for solving malaria is here. So I'm very excited about that.
Yeah, yeah, I've heard about it.
WH.
Yeah, I've heard about it.
So my first project was trying to fight malaria in sub-Saharan Africa. But some other projects that I worked over last few years is I've got a chance to work on building an e-learning portal for US Department of Commerce. I've worked with agencies like NASA and World Bank and ESA, European Space Agency, to use open data from satellites to help smallholding farmers in Africa decide what they should plant this year based on guessing how much rainfall they are going to have, how what is the soil
Yeah,
quality going to
the
be, what's the
geographical
moisture level.
conditions.
Absolutely. So I got to work on those geospatial open data projects in Africa, and I'm still working on them. I'm currently working on an artificial intelligence backed chatbot to help high school students pick career paths, which is beyond just engineering, medicine, law, those typical, degrees that we know of. But
Yeah,
now the
yeah,
world has changed. You can be a social media influencer, you can be a YouTube creator, you can be a short film maker, and that is a career in itself. So I wanted a new way for people to get help in terms of career guidance. What if you want to be an entrepreneur? Everyone will tell you do engineering, get an MBA, get work experience, फिर अपना business चालू करो. But I'm not sure if that is the only path to do it. That may be one of the paths which may have worked for someone. But if you really want to look examples, then I can also tell you, हाँ engineering करो, second year में drop out हो जाओ और जाके company खोलो. That's how Steve Jobs did it. That's
yeah.
how Mark Zuckerberg did it.
Mark Zuckerberg.
But that may not work for you. That may be a failure for you. And so I wanted a career. I wanted AI based chatbot to personalize the results for everyone. सबको one size fits all नहीं होना चाहिए. So I'm working on that project at Y Center. And at any given time, Y Center is an official United Nations Sustainable Development Goals partner. So we work on a lot of sustainable development goals. There are 17 goals around climate change, gender inequality, uh, sustainability, or zero poverty, hunger. So I work on a lot of those projects in US, in Africa. I also work with a lot of big companies to build solutions with them to solve these problems, this global problem. So yeah, our work is spread across multiple domains, but one key aspect that binds all this work is that any project that I work on at Y Center with my team, with my community, with my partners is it has to solve a real problem for someone. It has to be problem solving. It
Yeah,
cannot be
yeah.
just done for the sake of it. मैं इसलिए चैटबॉट नहीं बना रहा हूँ बिकॉज मेरे को एआई पसंद है और मेरे को मशीन लर्निंग अच्छा लगता है. आई वॉन्ट टू डू इट बिकॉज किसी का लाइफ बेटर हो सकता है उससे, नहीं तो मुझे नहीं करना है. And of course there has to be a business model to it so that it is sustainable. I can't rely on charity to do this project. I hope that helps.
Again, a very typical question from an Indian household. You've learned and experienced Indian as well as US education system, right? So you've done your engineering in India and you've done your masters in US. There is a bit of difference in both the teaching styles and the learning patterns, right? And talking about India, people are really hesitant to, or you can say a bit more afraid to start a startup as compared to USA for numerous reasons, be it capital or be it anything like social pressure or be it कि बाजू वाले क्या बोलेंगे या फिर neighbors क्या बोलेंगे, वो लोग क्या बोलेंगे, लोग क्या कहेंगे, is the main reason, people not going into startups. So what is your advice to the younger generation? What do you think Indian education system should do in order to change that mentality? Like this is a very open domain question, but what do you think should have changed in Indian system so as to help more people get into get into entrepreneurship? Sorry.
So Sahil, um, Indian education system is not responsible for making me think about log kya kahenge. That is our social system. So we have two different
Exactly.
systems, right, that are at play. One is our education system, the other is our social contract that we in India sign with our neighbors and with people we don't care about कि भाई ये क्या करेगा और ये क्या कहेगा, ये मेरे लिए बहुत important है for some reason. Because now that is to do with our culture. India is a very community driven society. US is very individual based society. So right, there is a huge difference. They both have their merits and demerits. In India, if something happens, आप 2 बजे किसी को फोन करके अपने दोस्त को बुला सकते हो या किसी फैमिली मेंबर को बुला सकते हो. They will come to help you, most likely, in most cases. In US, that cannot happen. You can't just pick up your phone at 2 a.m. Here is an example. I don't know who is my neighbor right now. I've been living here for 3 years. मेरे को नहीं मालूम कौन. मैं देखा है उसको. I don't know the names. कभी बात नहीं किया है. So this just is an example to tell you the difference between the cultures, right? So I wanted to point out that there's a merit in it, and of course the demerit is that if you try to do something different and something unique, you are also bogged down by log kya kahenge, because you are connected to the log. That's the thing.
Yeah, exactly.
Now people who really want to do entrepreneurship, you have to figure out a balance कि लोग क्या कहेंगे वो मेरे को फर्क नहीं पड़ेगा. और मुझे लगता है इंडिया में ये एटीट्यूड भी है कि मेरे को एंड put a beep on this, but मेरे को घंटे से फर्क पड़ता है. And that is a great attitude. So I think in combination of look, I care about log because we are community driven, but मेरे को फर्क नहीं पड़ता है. वो combination बहुत powerful होता है for an entrepreneur. ये लोग भी चाहिए तुम्हें. तुम अकेले कुछ नहीं कर पाओगे, यू नीड सपोर्ट। तुम जब बिजनेस
Yeah,
लॉन्च करोगे यहाँ
exactly.
पर, तुम लोग का फर्स्ट रेवेन्यू तुम्हारे लोगों से ही आएगा। वो लोग तुम्हारे, जो तुम्हारे एक्चुअली में असली दोस्त है, असली रिलेशन है, दे विल एक्चुअली शेयर, यू नो, लुक व्हाट माय फ्रेंड इज डूइंग। एंड इंडिया में इतना पॉपुलेशन है कि फार, इट्स वेरी फास्ट टू रीच फार, यू नो।
Yeah.
सो ऑल्सो I think you want to use it positively in India, about the fact that I am connected to so many people. Can I use this, you know, to build something powerful? So I'm just going to say that while it's a problem that people, you know, think what we are doing, and people like always are poking their noses in your business, but you can get beyond that and just focus on what you care, what you want to do. Of course, it's not easy. I'm not claiming this any of this is easy. I'm just giving a random talk on this YouTube channel, but the point is that you have to do this and it works. You know, I did it and it worked for me. That's number one. Now the education system piece, that one is a little complex and tricky, because again, Indian education system ka history comes from British education system, which was invented to serve the industrial revolution era. So a lot of our education systems are still very much uh, derived. I'm not saying they're the same, but they're derived from the source of, you know, British industrial revolution ages. We didn't have any significant update to our education system, you know. And I'm not the only one to talk about it. In fact, there are many creative channels, TVF, you know, which is built by an IITian, and they have so many IITian actors in there. They make so many amazing shows about Indian education systems, you know, that show the real true self of what's
Yes,
going
yes,
on,
yes.
of people getting into IITs and medical schools. I love seeing some of the shows, but I think those guys are making a real impact through, you know, creative storytelling. I feel, by bringing this powerful voices of someone who's been to an IIT to show what it is to be there, and hopefully enough people get inspired and do something about it. So I strongly believe Indian education system can be influenced by, you know, the pressures that are created through this creative industries. Eventually it will change, but what can Indian education system do to build entrepreneurs? First, I think typical education system never builds out entrepreneurs. Entrepreneurs are built not because of education system, they are built despite it. I'm
Yes.
a huge believer of that. Now, not saying that you don't need education, it's very helpful. I went through my master's degree, I did 6 years, I didn't drop out. And most successful entrepreneurs, very successful, highly successful, have dropped out. They didn't go through education system. So for them, it wouldn't change if the education system is going to change. Maybe they would have stayed back, but they would do whatever they wanted to anyway. So I think we need to focus, if we really want to do something, we need to focus a lot on hands-on experience, create internships, like make it almost mandatory by internship
Exactly.
karna hi padega. And if it is not mandatory, mere time pe internship was not mandatory when I was in Vesit, for instrumentation at least. I don't know what is the rule now, I would love to know. I did it. मैंने डिसाइड किया मैं करूंगा, मेरे को फर्क नहीं पड़ता है मेरे को कॉलेज में कुछ. I took special permissions. I remember I was in a hospital and they asked me, get a letter from your college, then we will give you. I'm like, my college doesn't allow me. I'm doing this on myself. So, you know, I still had to get a letter. I went back and I told principal, hey, I'm doing this. It's going to be good for me. You know, you just have to sign this. And yeah, I got the sign and I ended up getting that internship. But I strongly feel get hands-on experience. And one most important thing is education system is not just about what you study. It's also about how you learn to manage your time, how you learn. And that's why going back to my answer to my first question is, one of my experience of Vesit was getting that opportunity to organize a lot of stuff was really helpful. And that is also part of education system, if I may. But we need to consciously do that a lot more so students can get a lot more experiences. Get experience, like good, bad, you fail, you succeed, doesn't matter. Experience is important. And I think our education system
Yes,
has to focus on
yes.
making our education more experiential. That's it. क्या पढ़ा रहे हो, क्यों पढ़ा रहे हो, वो सब देखा जाएगा, बट एक्सपीरियंस ड्रिवन होना चाहिए. दैट्स इट.
Yeah, exactly. I completely agree. I really feel that what our education system does, that they test our memory more than our knowledge. This is what I feel. Talking about shows, I reckon there was one show about an IITian. He did a live show. He went to some classes and then they asked him few questions. So I think Netflix made a documentary about that student. And it was really sad because he said that he hasn't watched television since fourth standard. He said that his hobbies other than studying is nothing, and people actually got depressed after seeing that. And that IIT is not, I mean, not the cup of tea. Shouldn't do IIT because this person is going through such horrific I don't know how to how to express that, but this is really sad. Like what our education system does. What is what I feel, and what about what you said that experience matters? Like yes, I mean even I cannot stress that enough. But I feel that this should go off the record. But even in our college, to some extent, I do believe that we do get practical experience, but because of the lockdown scenario, the practical experience was really halted, and I'm really worried for not just me but all our futures. But I just hope that this lockdown would be prevail, and we'll again get back at least some of our what you can say practical experiences. Well, that was just sad. I'm sorry for that. Okay, now again about talking about college and stuff, like we've all made some decision or we haven't made some decision that we regret you know so if you were to time travel back to when you first graduated, what would you advise yourself?
Uh, have more fun. That is my biggest regret from
What?
college. I was very serious. Yeah, I think I didn't have enough fun, and I was not studious by any means. Okay, not about books. I had a very weird story. I had a philosophy when I was in college that I wanted to start a business, which I did when I was in second with my friends. But I used to read like I think when I was 19, I also like cleared my capital market derivative market exam, National Stock Exchange of India, because I was very interested in stock. So in practice, I used to organize the Dalal Street, which I don't know if you guys still have it.
Yes, yes,
But
we still have it.
and my year was the first year we introduced forex, foreign exchange currency, and MCX. And I think now you guys can introduce crypto in the next version if you don't do it already. But I was the one who brought that to Vesit when that year I wanted to do something of my own, and I'm in the first time a second year student in Vesit who was involved so deeply in engaging, like almost like the head organizer of Dalal Street, in second year, because I had so much knowledge about stock market. So I used my 4 years of engineering to study a lot non-engineering stuff. I learned how to play drums. I went to hip hop class to learn hip hop for 6 months. I learned stock market. I learned about starting a company. I started one. There was one more thing. Uh, I learned how to play drums. So I was doing a lot more extracurricular activities that has nothing to do with college, but I was doing it by myself outside college. So after college would finish at 1 o'clock, or if we have lab 3 o'clock, I remember that was the time. I would leave the first train, come back home, and start picking up books or business times and studying about business world or space science or something random stuff, or just come back and watch IMDb top 250 TV shows or TV series rather than going on. My friends would call me, अबे क्या कर रहे हैं हम लोग इधर, पानी पूरी खाने को जा रहा है, सैंडविच खाने को जा रहा है, कॉफी पीने को चल, मैं नहीं आ रहा हूँ यार. So I felt I didn't do that enough, but I had really good friends, and one of them is still my best friend. And I told him that when I went to his house in Florida recently, and I said, तेरी वजह से थोड़ा मेरा कॉलेज लाइफ सेम था, नहीं तो मैं कुछ भी नहीं किया होता. सो थैंक यू सो मच फॉर दैट, एंड इट वाज क्वाइट इमोशनल बिकॉज मैं उसको बोला कि यार तू नहीं होता तो मैं कुछ जिया ही नहीं होता कॉलेज में, मैंने कुछ भी नहीं किया. एंड ही मेड श्योर दैट आई वाज हैविंग ऑल द फन, कि हम लोग नाइट आउट मारे. तुम सोचो, मैं एक इंजीनियरिंग स्टूडेंट था जिसको नाइट आउट में कोई इंटरेस्ट नहीं था. The people would just have this night outs with obviously typical parties that college students have, and मेरे को बहुत बोर होता था. मैं बोला मेरे को नहीं जाने का है, मेरे को मैं सोएगा उससे अच्छा तो अपने टाइम पे. आई मीन कोई सोता नहीं है रात को, वो तो अलग बात है इंजीनियरिंग का. बट आई जस्ट डिडंट वांट टू गो टू नाइट आउट्स बिकॉज मेरे को पकता था. बट सम ऑफ देम आई डिड गो टू, एंड मुझे बहुत मजा आया. मैं बोला मैं क्यों नहीं किया है ज्यादा. एंड मैं फोर्थ ईयर में था. आई रिमेम्बर सब लोग यूएस जा रहे, जीआरई दे दिया, सब लोग यूएस फेयरवेल पार्टी हो रहा है. तो एक दो लोगों के मैं फेयरवेल पार्टी में गया जिनसे मैंने 4 साल में 2 बार बात किया रहेगा लाइफ में, बट वो लोग मेरे को बुलाया अपने पार्टी में. मैं गया, मैं बोला ये इतना अच्छा इंसान है, इससे दोस्ती क्यों नहीं किया. और सो आई हैव लाइक फोर्थ ईयर में मेरे को रियलाइज हुआ मैं थोड़ा ज्यादा सीरियस, मैं टाइम वेस्ट किया कॉलेज में. आई डिडंट रियलाइज कि ये बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट टाइम है लाइफ का, चिल मारने का, मस्ती करने का, और मैं नहीं किया. और मैं अभी मारता हूँ, मैं अभी चिल मारता हूँ, मस्ती करता हूँ जब भी चांस मिलता है मेरे को, बट तभी नहीं किया. तो मेरा रिग्रेट वही है सिर्फ, कि मैंने ज्यादा चिल नहीं मारा कॉलेज में. एंड मैं तुम सबको बोल रहा हूँ, जो लोग इधर सीरियस टाइप लोग है ना, कुछ फर्क नहीं पड़ता है. तुम जो सीरियस लोग जिनको 85 लाने का, 80% लाने का, फर्स्ट क्लास लाने का है, तुमको एक्सेंचर जाने का है, गूगल में जाने का है, जिधर भी जाने का है, तुम लोग जाएगा। जेपी मॉर्गन जाने का है, न्यूयॉर्क जाने का है, एलए में, सैन फ्रांसिस्को, एप्पल में जॉब करना है, जो करना है सब होएगा। बट दोज थिंग्स आर नॉट म्यूचुअली एक्सक्लूसिव। अरे अच्छा, मेरे को अगर एप्पल में जॉब चाहिए और मेरे को अमेजोन में जॉब करना है, तो मेरे को, मैं पार्टी नहीं जा सकता है, मैं ये एक्स्ट्रा करिकुलर नहीं जा सकता, ऐसा कोई कनेक्शन ही नहीं है। आई इनफैक्ट फील the more you are social, the more you are with people, you will have a better chance to go eventually wherever you want to go in life, because you will learn so much from people, from all those experiences that you get with your friends. I think I don't have a regret, because see, regret का मतलब क्या है कि मैं कर सकता था और मैंने नहीं किया, मेरे को करना ही नहीं था, तो रिग्रेट क्या
हाँ,
है? मेरे को लग रहा था मैं सही है, बट अभी जेन्युइनली मैं अगर सोचूं तो ठीक है, बट I don't think, अगर if I had to go back side, I will not change it. I'll tell you why. This question is again a trap question. People ask sometimes each other, what would you do if you go back? Would you change? No, you wouldn't, because when you go back, you also go back to your old self, who knew whatever he knew back then, and he thought he's doing the right thing. I thought I was doing the right thing. So if I go back with a time machine, I
exactly.
will also go back to my old self, who thought that is the right thing to do. So I'll still do all of that, but I wish I don't have regrets, because I didn't do anything extraordinarily bad. And in fact, I live my life with that mantra. I would rather fail at something than actually have regret about something. I read a research recently that said people have more regrets about not doing something, but they don't have regret about failing. Fail होता है ना तो कम regret होता है, but नहीं किया रहता है तो ज्यादा regret होता है। तो मेरे को
Yeah,
ऐसा कोई regret नहीं, मैंने
exactly.
सब try किया है। I've tried everything in my college life, so I don't really have huge regrets. But what I feel like emotionally, not regret is a powerful word, that I wish I would have done is have more fun, which I didn't. But yeah, that's also, I think, my possibly the last parting message if we are about to finish this.
Yeah, have more fun. Like I'll be keeping that in my mind right now. If I go and tell my parents that one of the students, one of the alumni has told me to have more fun, they'll be like, "अभी कम करता है क्या?"
नहीं नहीं नहीं,
नहीं
मेरा
नहीं
नाम मत देना भाई।
नहीं
तुम लोग सब लोग इधर अभी कल जाके रात को नाइट आउट कर रहे हैं और अपने पेरेंट्स को रहा रहे हैं, वो एलुमनाई ने बोला इसलिए कर रहे हैं। मैं ये नहीं बोल रहा सब छोड़ छाड़ के करो, जो कर रहे हो करो,
नहीं नहीं
बट
नहीं
थोड़ा चिल मारो, इज ऑल आई एम सेइंग। इतना सीरियस होने का जरूरत नहीं है। सीरियस, मैंने देखा था यार, हम लोग के टाइम पे पीपल हु वर द मोस्ट सीरियस, दे डिड ओके, बट पीपल हु हैड दैट बैलेंस ऑफ फन and actually also like smart enough people, they really are the ones who go furthest in life in terms of everything, career and just happiness and everything. So I'm strongly of a belief that have fun, make friendships that last you a lifetime. I'm sure you guys are having some friends for life now, but that's important guys, that's what's going to stay with you. मेरे को आज कोई नहीं पूछता है तेरा मार्क्स कितना था, पता है, इनफैक्ट
Yeah, I
वी वर
know
जस्ट
it's
टॉकिंग दिस।
important.
नहीं, किस मेरे को मार्क्स तो याद भी नहीं, मेरे को सब्जेक्ट्स का नाम भी याद नहीं है, मेरे को इवेंचुअली पता है फर्स्ट क्लास आया, खत्म हो गया, बट आई डिडंट वर्क फॉर इट, आई वाज नॉट वर्किंग फॉर फर्स्ट क्लास। आ गया तो आ गया, जिसको नहीं है उसको भी कोई फर्क नहीं है। आई एम प्रीटी श्योर if someone really makes an argument about making money and getting a job with your marks, then it's not valid, because कोई connection ही नहीं है दोनों का। You are as good as how smart you are at that moment, and when you guys get your first job after your masters or even immediately, you have to excel in your interview. Yeah, of course, your marks will decide which interviews you can sit for, but you can always go by yourself and even go for external job interviews if possible. But yeah, like don't do that at the cost of losing your sanity. Like be sane, be a human being,
Yeah,
and
exactly.
experience every emotion. So yep, that's
Thank you so much, sir, for taking your time out of your busy schedule and planning a meet and being a part of Be and Beyond. It was such a pleasure having you on a show, inspiring so many students out there and budding and entrepreneurs by your journey. For more such videos, tune in to our YouTube channel. See you in the next episode of Be and Beyond. Thanks for watching, and don't forget to hit the like button, subscribe to our channel. Thank you.